Virginia governor blasts teachers union boss over lockdown history. Rewrite attempt. Quote, can't spin her way out of it. And that's true. I mean, they got like a revisionist history. A lot of people on the left, all those that were for the lockdown and the jabby jabs, all them people are now coming out and pretending like they were against it from the beginning and lockdowns were terrible. Uh, I never was for lockdowns and all these other lies that these leftists are coming out saying. They forget that we have receipts on all of this stuff though. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store where I have I Will Not Comply t-shirts as well. All right, let's talk about this news. As an outspoken defender of education, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin criticized American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten after deflecting blame for school closings during the COVID pandemic during a congressional hearing last week. Quote: For Randy Weingarten to come out and say that they're trying to get schools open. Well, let me tell you this. This is counter to anything people believe. And in fact, she was probably my best support in getting elected because they kept schools shut, Youngkin told Maria Bartiromo during an exclusive interview from the Milken Institute Global Conference on Tuesday. Quote, they cannot spin their way out of this. Weingarten testified before the Select Committee on the Coronavirus Pandemic to address her union's role in influencing public policy on school lockdowns. During her testimony, she argued the Biden transition team was the first to contact her union for guidance on school closures during the COVID 19 pandemic. Weingarten also tried to rewrite the narrative surrounding her union's approach to the COVID response. Quote, we went every day from February on trying to get schools open. We knew that remote education was not a substitute for opening schools, she said to a committee. And that's a straight up lie. That's a straight up lie. I remember when she went in and was talking about we need to keep our teachers safe, we need to keep our students safe, so we need to close these schools. I remember her talking about that. And now she's trying to pretend like she never said any of that. Youngkin blasted the remarks, arguing, quote, the teachers union wanted the schools closed. Everybody knew that. Everyone knows that. Quote, what we saw was what it did to children. Virginia is the absolute quintessential case. Schools were shut all the way through until the fall of September of 2021, and Virginia suffered the largest learning loss in fourth grade reading and math in the country, he said. Quote, a 12-inch screen is not a quality education. Parents know it. They know the truth, Youngkin added. Other critics also shared their response to Weingarten's claim, including Trump administration Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, who accused the union president of revisionist history. Even Democrat Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot called out Weingarten's testimony. You know that's bad when another leftist is calling you out. Well, quote, that may have been what Randy was saying at the national level, and I believe that to be true. I had conversations with her at the time that led me to believe that's what she wanted to do. That's not the reality that was happening on the ground in cities like Chicago, like Los Angeles, and other places. We needed to get our kids back in school. I'm unapologetic about the fight to make sure we put our kids and our parents first, Lightfoot said in the on CNN on Monday. Though Weingarten has recently been trying to rebrand herself as a champion for keeping schools open, her past comments indicate that's not the case. So, quote, we don't have the receipts. The internet is forever, but quote, we have an obligation to make remote better because until we can really decrease community spread throughout the United States, distance learning and distance working is going to be a fact of life. Wayne Garten said in August 2020. So that doesn't sound like she's trying to do anything about bringing kids back to school. She was also a strong critic of efforts to reopen schools, including in Florida, where she claimed in July 2021 that millions would die from Governor Ron DeSantis' handling of the pandemic. So I remember when a lot of people came out after Ron DeSantis when he was opening up everything. He was like one of the first. They were like one of the first states to start really opening up things, and he was being heavily criticized. And critics, including Youngkin, have noted the impact remote learning has had on children, both academically and mentally. And I can quote several studies that shows that remote learning for children is not good at all. Uh, School closures in the U.S. have had a devastating impact on children's mental health, development, and future earnings potential, according to data released last year by the National Center for Education Statistics. 70% of U.S. public schools have reported an increase in students seeking mental health services since the start of the pandemic. A study published by the conservative think tank Just Facts reported that the mental health stressors brought about by school closures will destroy 7 times more years of life than lockdown saved. So it's actually worse than the lockdown saves. I mean, this is irrefutable proof right here. And data from the nation's report card also revealed that math scores saw their biggest decreases ever in the aftermath of COVID, while reading scores dropped to levels not seen since 1992 for 4th and 8th graders across the country. The average mathematics score for fourth grade students fell 5 points from 2019 to 2020. The score for 8th graders dropped 8 points. Reading for both grades fell 3 points since 2019. A study by the American Enterprise Institute also found that nearly 1.3 million students have left public schools since the pandemic began, and schools that stayed remote longer saw even more students leave. The World Bank reported that the school closures will cost this generation of students 21 trillion with the T, trillion in earnings over their lifetimes, which is far more than the 17 trillion estimated in 2021. Youngkin, who has been a champion for bettering Virginia's education system, outlined steps to get children back on track and enhance education for America's next generations. Quote, we have to recognize that what was being done prior to the pandemic in Virginia was laying the foundation for the decline in performance, he said. We have to raise expectations in our schools, and then finally we are making sure that parents feel empowered to make decisions for their children. Parents, pull your kids out of these crappy schools in the first place. You need to be teaching them yourself, because you can't really trust these schools. You can't really trust these teachers. They really don't have your kids' best interests at heart like they pretend they do, and we know that now from the pandemic. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out DeMarcoPublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.